Hello again everybody, and welcome back to Dark Souls 3. Let's move on through the Grand Archives. Because today, well, we're basically gonna go to almost the end of it. It's one of those areas with a lot of shortcuts. So alone in this room, there's actually two. One that would bring us back up to a place a little later on. And an elevator right here that, you know, just brings us back where we left off, pretty much. And for the time being, we are using, you know, our good old sword again. The Raw Astora Straight Sword. And we also did find the spell Soul Stream last time, which is just, you know, I equipped. It has a really long casting time and is hard to pull off, but I want to hit it at least once in order to, you know, something. And these hands are as annoying as ever. Thankfully, they don't really do a lot of damage. You just need to look out for your curse build-up meter down there. Just to make sure that you don't just suddenly turn into a statue and die. Aside from that, there's really nothing to be worried about too much. And I could have also gone back and dunked my head into wax to just get rid of that problem entirely. But even though it would be a short walk, I didn't really want to, you know, do that. And you might be noticing that we are getting shot from above by soul spears. There actually is a shortcut ladder back down here from above, but, you know, we'll have to find that first. And it's actually not all that far away anyway. If you know where to go, obviously. We could just rush to that ladder if we felt like it. Now, outside is the next big segment of this area. But first, you know, more of those curse hands to deal with. Now, if you still have curse buildup, it really pays to wait until it's gone, or at least reduced significantly, so you can pick up that item, provided you really want it. And we can see more of those pilgrim butterflies there in the distance. And those, you know, they're as interesting as ever because I already mentioned it, but I think they might be the evolution of these normal pilgrims we've seen so many corpses of. Which means they must have had some kind of pilgrimage to see something up here. Something important. Something that presumably we are also heading towards. And this wouldn't be a rooftop area in Dark Souls without gargoyles. And even though Soulstream has a really slow cast time and was bound to get me hit here, I did want to use an opponent that has a lot of HP and is bigger. It does decent damage actually, but again, it's kind of hard to pull off. It does have a good range too, but it's kind of, you know, impractical. Though it can go through walls too, so you can use that to your advantage. And it's been pointed out to me, and I didn't know this at all, in the thread by, I forgot who he was, I think Liquidy Poo. You can actually kick those wings like a shield and guard break them. I really didn't know, I never thought of just viewing that as a shield. Even though they're obviously blocking. Just seems weird, honestly. And obviously I didn't know this during the recording here because I recorded this way before that actually got pointed out to me. So this is a little bit of a hidden area. There really isn't much of a reason to come here. Now, obviously, you're gonna get some items and stuff, but you might also get quite a harrowing experience out of it. This actually would bring us back to that, you know, that one night down there, that one Lothric night. But we don't want to be there. We want to explore the rest of this place. No, there's one of those sages and these normal Corvians. The smartest idea usually is to kill the sage first, and then the other ones won't even do anything. But here it seems a little different. Here they all seem to aggro equally. And of course, there's a lot of enemies now. So let's try Soulstream another time. Or not. And you might imagine now that this is kind of a scary situation, being followed by humanoid birds along a very, very narrow path that is very, very, you know, dangerous too. And the only way to escape would be to drop down to a dangerous night. Thankfully, we can do that, but since the one guy seems to be living in a wall right now... Ah, well, let's just put him out of his misery. But I was tempted to just let him rot there. But anyway, with that taken care of, we can just check out the rest of this place. And I'm glad that we did not have to deal with all of those at the same time. Did not even kill him, unfortunately, but it does seem to do more damage than Crystal Soul Spear at least. Which, you know, it should, given its casting time. But it only really does full damage if the enemy is in the beam for the entire duration of it. So it's more of a kind of a gimmicky spell. It's cool if you can actually pull it off though, like really cool. Alright, let's make the jump. Now, I don't think the game actually expects you to come here because all you get here is Titanite scales. It's nice to have those, obviously, because we will be using another boss weapon, the Moonlight Greatsword, but, you know, it's nothing essential here. Anyway, we're back here now. And we're not even gonna go down there, so we don't have to deal with that gargoyle anymore, because he would be back, obviously. He's not a one-time thing. He will respawn. But that's obviously not all that is here to annoy us. In fact, he's not the only gargoyle. If Dark Souls 2 taught us anything, it's that more is always better, so if the fight against two gargoyles in Dark Souls 1 was really fun, you need to at least have 5 at the same time. And boy, am I glad that this isn't the case here. But I'll say it right away, I think there is a total of 5 on here. Just that, you know, you can just kill them one by one. There might be a 6th one, if I'm not counting right. But we'll see, actually. I don't think I pointed this out yet, but as long as the crystal lizards fall to their deaths, as long as you've hit them at least once, you'll still get their stuff. If they burrow into the ground, of course, that's not the case. You'll just have to come back later or just reload the area. If you really want a crystal lizard, the best thing to do, really, if you can't just get him right away, is to kill the enemies in the area, then stand where the crystal lizard spawns and reload the area. And there he will be, not really doing anything for the first few seconds, and you can just safely dispatch of him and get the materials. Alright, so behind us would be a balcony you can drop down on, but we want to go the long way. Both of those paths lead to the same place eventually, but again, we're gonna go the long path, because we can. There really isn't too much here, except for, you know, the Titanite chunk obviously is nice, because we need Titanite chunks. game really wants to have a weapon that is better than +6 at this point, and they highly recommend you actually upgrade your weapon further. Under normal circumstances, you'd have that anyway, but due to me LPing the game, this is a thing that is a bit harder to pull off because they upgrade a lot of weapons, and I still had to grind in order to do so. But especially having a weapon that's at above +6 is a bit difficult until you can actually grind chunks, which you can by now. There's a part at the beginning of Lothric Castle with the Winged Knights which drop them that just lets us kind of more or less reliably get some Titanite chunks. And this is the room where I pointed out the shortcut ladder, and this is in fact that shortcut ladder. Just for good measure, let's dunk it. There is, of course, no more reason for us to do so, because there are no more curse hands here. And that's also the last of those Thrall Thieves. And holy shit, this item just spawned in midair. Ah, come on. We can't pick it up there. So this is the part where I pointed out the balcony, which at the point was behind us. So if you don't want to go across those rooftops with the 2 additional gargoyles, just go this path. Unless of course you want that one Titanite chunk you can find up there, in that case just go there, I guess. But you look at 2 here, so all's good. Alright, so this room is kind of a tough one. Let's look into the distance here first to assess the situation, because there's 3 enemies here, 3 NPCs, and all of them can and probably will kill you on your first run, because you won't be knowing what they can do. As far as I'm aware, there's not really much of a way to pull them out one by one, because as soon as one aggroes, the other ones will come as well. Normally, at least. But right now it seems that the last one, which is a spellcaster, just doesn't come. Which I find odd. Now she comes. Great. This isn't something that you normally expect, because normally they just come out all at once. And this actually is a bit easier using magic like myself. And actually, let's talk a bit about magic, because most people seem to say that sorcery in particular is kind of useless until the late game. And that's not true, it just gets really powerful in the late game, which is where we are right now. We aren't even fully equipped for magic, but you can tell that we do a lot of damage and make short work of a lot of tough encounters. The thing is that they rebalanced magic. It is actually, as far as I'm concerned, just as good as it used to be, but there's no more spell uses, so they can't easily say, okay, you have this many uses between bonfires. Instead you have focus points, and you can easily replenish them. So they made magic in general, not just sorcery, so also pyromancies and miracles, a bit less useful overall, but you can cast them more often. Not necessarily increasing their usefulness, but keeping it around the same. Of course, some people might argue differently, but I still think that magic is very viable. Especially early on, it's actually kind of strong in the early game. Then it drops off a bit, but it's not bad at all. What's the wisest course of action, of course, is if you use sorcery, just keep pyromancy on the side, just in case you run into something that happens to be resistant to sorcery, because those things will happen. Alright, so this seems like it will lead us to a climatic location. So let's not go there right away, okay? Let us first check out the other options. My modus operandi for video games, of course, is to always go to the part that least looks like progress. Then again, in Souls games you never know, because in Anno Londo and Dark Souls 1 you just ran into a dead end and the only way on was a path that didn't look like you were supposed to go there anyway. Just walking up a buttress, I think it's called. Yeah, that was a bit weird at the time, but hey, people managed. And what I just did there was use the special ability of my staff, which is the Steady Chant. It just increases our magic damage output for a while. For a short while, actually. But it can make a difference if you know ahead of time that you're gonna run into something that's powerful. And this is actually where our Crystal Soul Spear shines, because it pierces enemies. And we're two right behind one another. So we were able to damage them both at the same time. Considerably too, I might add. Because it's a very powerful spell. If you want the most bang for your buck, I think heavy soul arrows are the best. But I might be wrong there. I did not exactly do the math. But they seem to be very cost efficient, if you will. So one last one of those winged knights up here. They wear gold armor as opposed to the normal silver ones, so it stands to reason that either they are just more glamorous or more powerful. By video game logic, I would go with more powerful. But again, we can make short work of them thanks to magic. Normally they'd be a bit more of a tough encounter, but you do get a Titanite slap for killing all three of them. Of course, only the first time, but once you kill all three of them for the first time, you get a Titanite slap, which is very welcome. The game actually gives you several of those. I can, off the top of my head, think of 3, I think, that you don't really need to finish a character-specific quest for. Which is a lot. And in total there are, I don't know how many. But there's a good amount of them. So you can actually upgrade probably all the weapons that you're gonna be using 2+10. But typically I only really use 2 or 3 weapons in my playthroughs. Like a melee weapon, a bow, and maybe a catalyst. And the Hunter's Ring increases our dexterity a bit. And I think it's supposed to be a little bit reminiscent to Bloodborne. Because the symbol on the ring looks slightly Bloodborne Hunter-ish. And this here's interesting. This is a cage with feathers inside it. And we do get the Divine Pillars of Light miracle, which the Winged Knights have been casting. Now the thing is that they are never properly mentioned, but apparently there's angels, and the Winged Knights seem to be angels because they have angel wings. It's a bit weird, but it's something that I haven't really, you know, given much meaning to. Now down there is one more guy in a dickish spot on those rafters, but if you can only get close, you could just knock him off. Anyway, the thing with the angels might be something worth discussing at a later point. Because the second DLC as of this recording is not out yet or announced yet, so maybe they will do something with that later. Or not. But still, it's something I might come back to later. Aside from the item descriptions I'll be posting as usual. The Divine Blessing is an item explicitly linked to Guinevere, by the way. Which is why, well, not just that reason, but you can find a Divine Blessing here, as well as some other references to Guinevere in Lothric Castle and around. So, a lot of people seem to theorize that Guinevere is actually Queen Lothric. But there's not really any concrete proof for it. But that's just how Souls rolls. Anyway, for the time being, let us rest, and next time, finish this area up. See you then.